Australia sits on $19.9 trillion of natural resources, yet millions of its citizens can't afford to buy a home or pay their weekly bills. What went wrong?
The year was 1851, the place a creek outside of Orange in New South Wales, when a man named Edward Hargraves made a huge discovery.
It's gold!
It was just 5 little flecks, but it was the start of a gold rush that would change the Australian colonies forever.
Go slow signs mean nothing around Wedderburn, a little Australian town in the state of Victoria. The reason? A 1950 gold rush that brings hopeful prospectors from near and far to stake out a claim, even in the main streets. It all started when quantities of gold were discovered near the surface, and now everybody's hoping to strike the rich vein of gold further down.
Australia has some of the world's best-known supplies of critical minerals, including nickel, lithium, cobalt and manganese. They're vital.
This is as good as it gets. As fast as we can dig it up, iron ore, gold, nickel, you name it, we're selling it. The figures are just staggering. This mining boom's raking in $1,000 a second. And what's the secret of our success? Quite simply, China and its wild rush to capitalism.
For anything we mine, should we be taxing the hell out of it? Once it's mined, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
Unlike farming, which produces product year after year.
Yep.
Do we wish to end up like Nauru when the phosphate ran out?
Here in Australia, we basically give our gas to multinationals to export, and then they minimise their corporate tax. It makes no sense. I think it is, you look at the major parties, it is some sort of insanity. It's pathological to not say we should be getting a fair return, because as you said, once it's gone, it's gone.
Its latest house price report revealing Adelaide homes have hit $1 million for the first time this quarter, with Perth's median house price also on track to hit the $1 million mark by the end of this year. In Sydney, it's on its way to $2 million, now just $8,000 shy of 1.7.
Australia should be the wealthiest nation on Earth. We're sitting on the world's largest reserves of iron ore, gold, uranium, and zinc. We're the leading exporter of coal, bauxite, and lithium. We have abundant agricultural land, pristine coastlines, and some of the world's most livable cities. Yet the average Australian is struggling more than ever. Housing affordability is at crisis levels. Wages have stagnated. Infrastructure is crumbling. And our economic future looks increasingly uncertain. Today, we're going to expose the brutal truth about how Australia squandered its once-in-a-generation opportunity to become the world's richest nation. We'll reveal the systematic policy failures, the corporate plundering of our natural wealth, and the political decisions that have left everyday Australians poorer, while foreign interests grow richer. Before we dive deeper, our analytics show that many of you watching right now are still unsubscribed. Please hit that subscribe button. It helps us continue exposing these critical issues that mainstream media won't touch. Chapter 1. The Resource Lottery Australia won and then lost. Australia hit the geological jackpot with natural resources valued at nearly $20 trillion. Our iron ore reserves alone are worth an estimated $700 billion, uranium at $1.1 trillion, and coal at $1.2 trillion. Add massive reserves of gold, bauxite, copper, nickel, and lithium, and we're sitting on one of the world's greatest treasure troves. The mining boom of 2003 to 2013 presented a once-in-a-generation opportunity as resource prices skyrocketed and money flooded into the country. But unlike Norway, which captured its oil wealth in a sovereign fund now worth $1.4 trillion, $260,000 per Norwegian, Australia let the profits flow offshore. Foreign-owned mining giants extracted our resources, minimized their taxes through aggressive strategies, and funneled profits to overseas shareholders. When the Labor government attempted to introduce a mining super-profits tax in 2010, the industry's $22 million advertising campaign brought down a prime minister and killed the legislation. This wasn't just poor policy, it was a national betrayal. Norway transformed finite oil resources into permanent wealth for its citizens. Australia has nothing to show for its mining boom except temporary wage spikes in mining regions and a missed opportunity that will never return. Chapter 2. The Foreign Ownership Disaster. The extent of foreign control over Australia's economy is staggering. Approximately 80% of mining operations, 80% of our banking sector, and 95% of our manufacturing sector are foreign-owned. Even our agricultural land is increasingly controlled by overseas interests, with over 13% now in foreign hands. This massive foreign ownership means profits, dividends, and wealth generated from our natural resources and industries flow offshore instead of benefiting Australians. The contrast with other resource-rich nations is stark and revealing. Qatar, with just 2.8 million people, leveraged its natural gas into a $450 billion sovereign wealth fund, making its citizens among the world's richest with GDP per capita exceeding $100,000. The United Arab Emirates diversified away from oil dependence, with less than 30% of its GDP now coming from petroleum. Australia's Future Fund, meanwhile, is worth just $200 billion, less than $8,000 per Australian, and isn't even designed to share resource wealth with citizens, but merely to cover public servant pensions. We had all the leverage in negotiations with mining companies. Our resources are immovably in our ground. Yet we surrendered our economic sovereignty without a fight. Chapter 3. The Dutch Disease and Economic Simplification. Australia's resource dependence triggered a classic case of Dutch disease, where one booming sector undermines the rest of the economy. As mining exploded, the Australian dollar strengthened, making our manufactured exports uncompetitive globally. Our manufacturing sector collapsed from 16% of GDP in the 1970s to less than 6% today. While Canada diversified its economy beyond resources, Australia doubled down on being the world's quarry. The Harvard Economic Complexity Index now ranks Australia 93rd globally, behind Kazakhstan, Uganda, and Senegal. This isn't just an academic concern. Countries with complex, diverse economies enjoy higher wages, more innovation, and greater resilience during global downturns. Our productivity growth has stagnated for over a decade, with the Productivity Commission calling it the worst prolonged period of productivity growth in at least 60 years. Without productivity improvements, real wages cannot sustainably increase, explaining why Australian workers have seen virtually no real wage growth since 2013, despite our resource wealth. Meanwhile, resource-poor nations like South Korea transformed themselves from poverty to prosperity through strategic investments in education, technology, and manufacturing. We export raw materials to countries that add value through processing and manufacturing, then sell finished products back to us at premium prices. We've chosen the role of global commodity supplier rather than value-adding innovator. Chapter 4. The Housing Catastrophe and Infrastructure. Deficit. The most visible symptom of Australia's economic mismanagement is our housing market. Despite being one of Earth's least densely populated countries, Australia has some of the world's most expensive housing. Sydney's median house price is now over 12 times the median annual household income, among the least affordable globally. This crisis stems from deliberate policy choices, negative gearing and capital gains, tax discounts that favor investors, restrictive zoning laws limiting supply, and immigration policies that increase demand without corresponding infrastructure investment. Our infrastructure deficit continues to widen, with Infrastructure Australia estimating we need over $600 billion in investment over the next 15 years just to maintain current standards. Our public transport lags decades behind Asia and Europe. Our internet speeds rank 68th globally, behind Kosovo. The mining boom offered the perfect opportunity to invest in transformative infrastructure when interest rates were low and resource revenues high. Instead, successive governments prioritized budget surpluses and tax cuts mortgaging our children's future by failing to build the infrastructure they'll need. Australia's research and development investment has fallen to a 30-year low of just 1.79% of GDP, while innovation leaders like South Korea and Israel invest more than 4%. We're increasingly falling behind in the global race to build the industries and technologies of tomorrow. Conclusion: Australia's failure to leverage its vast natural resources for the benefit of all citizens represents one of history's greatest economic missed opportunities. While other resource-rich nations built sovereign wealth funds, world-class infrastructure, and high living standards, Australia allowed its wealth to be extracted by foreign interests. We should be the world's richest country on a per capita basis. Instead, we've become a two-speed economy, a small, wealthy elite who've benefited from the resource boom and property speculation, and a growing number of Australians working harder than ever just to make ends meet. This didn't happen by accident, but through deliberate policy choices prioritizing short-term political gain over long-term national prosperity. The window of opportunity hasn't closed completely. Australia still has vast resources, including critical minerals essential for the clean energy transition. But we must ensure that this time, the benefits flow to all Australians, not just multinational corporations and foreign shareholders. The path forward requires a proper resource rent tax, a sovereign wealth fund for all Australians, strategic investments in infrastructure and innovation, and policies that diversify our economy beyond digging and growing. Without these changes, we'll continue our decline from potential economic powerhouse to mere quarry, watching our children struggle with unaffordable housing and stagnant wages while sitting on one of the greatest treasure troves of natural wealth the world has ever seen. To watch the latest update on Australia's crisis, click the video here.